All right, thank you for coming. It is about to be 3:05 and I wanted to start this webinar at 3 o'clock. And I know it's a little hard for people to get here on a Friday. So I'm just going to take a couple more minutes to wait. And then I'm just going to get started. And then hopefully you can see this virtually. Eventually, you'll be able to see it virtually, and then you'll have to ask me questions via email. But I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes and then we're going to get started on how to design an innovative menu. So we're talking today about research and development for an innovative menu. So yeah, I'm going to wait just maybe like 2 more minutes because sometimes people come in a little bit late, especially on Friday, especially today because it's a rainy, gloomy day. And I know that everyone is probably tired and doesn't want to continue working and they just kind of want to rest a little bit. But today's going to be fun and it's going to be very relaxing. So, just unwind and we're going to get started in just a few minutes. Okay, so it's 3:05, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Today we are talking about research and development for an innovative menu. Now, typically I do this in more of a group setting because group classes are typically, it's nice to ask everybody what recipes they're thinking about, or if this is for a restaurant or if this is for a catering, what type of innovative menu are you looking to create? So since today we're kind of a little bit more limited, I'm just going to kind of ask you these types of questions and then you can answer them as we move forward, as you within yourself. So answer them on your notebook and then schedule technical assistance time to go over it because then we can go over it together and we can help you with whatever it is a development is for your food. But I'm going to talk to you on a chef's point of view. How do we think about research and development for a food menu or for a food product? So before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation. Thank you for coming. This presentation is being hosted by the Dreaming Out Loud program. Dreaming Out Loud is an amazing food incubator. It's an incubator that helps food service restaurants, or they make an impact through food, either in starting urban gardens around the area. And in this case, we're looking to support our local food entrepreneurs. So Dreaming Out Loud is a wonderful program. I started working with Dreaming Out Loud maybe like 5 years ago or so. And there we started with a cohort of 11 businesses. Now I still have a lot of those businesses as participants of the DCSBDC program that we still work. But just remember that Dreaming Out Loud is here to help food businesses thrive and get started in a good way, in a healthy way, so that they can have the tools that they need for success. So today we're at the 4th session of the webinar series. Now, if you have not registered for this course, please remember that you can register using the Eventbrite link that's on the chat. If you have that Eventbrite link, you'll be able to access our videos. So if you want to be able to have access to these recordings, you have to sign up or register for the program. So this is called Research and Development for an Innovative Menu. First, before we really get started, I'm going to remind you that we have a we're working with Nourish DC. So we have like a partnership with Nourish DC and Capital One. And this program is being funded by Capital One and Nourish DC in part. So we put a couple of links in the presentation so you can learn a little bit more about the programs. But we also wanted to tell you about the grant that's going to be opening in late October. We don't know exactly when it's going to launch, but this grant is for small businesses that have been operating for more than 12 months who are looking to expand, or they need some sort of investment for their company, and either in something that will promote business growth. And this grant last year, they awarded over $500,000 to over 10 businesses. This year, they're looking to do the same thing. So it's $500,000, and you can apply between $10,000 to $50,000 as a business. And the criteria is that you have been in business for about a year, for more than 12 months, and that you've been making at least $10,000 in sales over the past 12 months. So your sales have to be at least $10,000 or over. But I think a lot of businesses here qualify for that. So if you need more information, just put it or send me an email or put it in the chat and send me a message. But if you want more information about this, just let me know. But it is a really good opportunity for funding. I mean, these types of things don't come all the time. It's actually something that as a food business mentor, as a food counselor, I try to keep up and make sure that I know about these things so I can share it with all of you. But if anybody finds out ever about a business incubator or something, grant, program, loan, please share it with your small business community so that we can help everybody thrive. So the next thing I'm going to show you is Open Access DC. Open Access DC has launched today. So if you are part of my other webinar series, you probably have seen me talk about this before today. But just for this purpose, I am going to go ahead and share the portal because a lot of people haven't seen it. So Open Access DC is a portal where you will be able to find what type of business you are opening. And then you can actually go in and click it and find out how do you open that particular type of business. So Open Access DC is super important now, just because now it's really the only resource or the main resource where you'll be able to find everything that you need to open a food business in DC. And then this has launched today. So it launched today, and this is the link right here. So the link I put in the presentation. So if you need access to that, just let me know, and then I will send you the presentation. But Open Access DC, I've been talking about it a lot in the past weeks. And finally, it's out. So hopefully you can go in, take some time, take a look at all of the buttons and look at all of it that it has to offer. There are links to SBA organizations. There are links to other workshops that different organizations are hosting. There are also links to, a lot of things having to do with compliance for your business. So just take a look at it so that you can see what opportunities there are out there for DC food businesses. And then today we're going to talk about how to develop a unique recipe. So we already spoke about that in the first session of this webinar series. However, today we're going to go a lot more in depth about it. So the first session that we did on this webinar series, I actually introduced this same question. How do you develop a unique recipe? And then we spoke about Grant Achatz and flavor bouncing and how Grant Achatz comes up with different flavors or different ideas for his dishes. So we did speak about that before, but today we're going to go a lot more in depth about how to properly do research and development for an innovative menu, or what is an innovative menu. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. If you've been to my webinars before, you've probably seen this slide as well. I always say, plant a seed and then watch it grow. When it comes to a recipe or a menu item, every recipe begins with an inspiration. So you get inspired by something, you get an idea for what you're going to make, and then that's you planting the seed. You have the idea, you decided what you were going to make, and you at least have a way of moving forward now, because your imagination gave you that. And as food business owners, we need to maintain our creativity. We have to work to always be creative, because people want to taste creative flavor combinations or textures or something that's going to make you a little bit different, because that little bit different thing makes you very special. So you can always do something a little bit different as long as the quality of what you're making remains high. So when you have a seed that you're planting, your seed that you're planting is an idea. Now your question is, how do I keep that energy? How do I keep inspiring myself to maintain those creative juices? Because I'm now designing a menu. I have to be just as creative in everything I offer. So I spoke about this before, but I speak about it like every time. That's why hobbies are very important for people in the food industry, because you're releasing your mind from stress and you're putting it towards something a little bit different that might let you think and be creative. I'm a very creative person, but anytime I've hit a creative rut, it really is because of stress or because of just having to deal with responsibilities, really. And anytime you have more and more responsibilities, you still have to fill them. But as a food service professional, you still have to deliver on your creativity, on your new thoughts. So because that's almost, it's a requirement of our jobs, incorporating something into your daily life that allows you to stay creative is very important. So for example, one of my chefs, Chef Ben, he's a great chef. He likes pottery. He does pottery on his free time. He makes plates and stuff, and he enjoys it. And that's the way he's able to keep his creative juices flowing. That's the way he's able to be innovative in his menus, is because he's thinking about stuff while he's relaxing and being creative. Same thing with me. I really enjoy painting, and I'm not a painter. I'm not technically a painter. I am technically a chef. I know methods and techniques and things in chefing. For painting, I don't know. I never went to an art class, but I know how to paint and I enjoy it. And so I just sit there and start creating what I want to create. And that allows me to relax and think through things that I just need to think about in order to develop my menu. So basically, creativity is the important thing. And for some people, it's music. For some people, it's playing an instrument. For some people, it's dancing. So really, just make sure that you have some exercise that's allowing you to stay creative, because food development, the development of a dish, is heavily based on creativity. When you want to make a differentiator, when you want to make something different, you have to be creative. So exercise that. But once you have the seed planted, once you know what dish you're going to make, then you watch it grow, meaning you already have an idea and you start with your idea. But very rarely do you do something and nail it on the first try. It's very rare that somebody is to create the absolutely most perfect dish the first time they make that dish. And the reason is because it is very trial and error. When you make a snack, when you make a food, you're going to taste it and analyze it when you're done making it. And sometimes it might need acidity. Sometimes it might need a little crunchy thing. Sometimes it needs aromatics. But you don't know that unless you make it. So then begins your trial and error process. And that's when you start really just creating your recipe. And everything that you do, you document it so that you can make sure that when you get the right thing, you've written it down and you have it in some sort of formula that you can make more of that, or you can scale it to production. But when you have the idea of the dish, you have to make it multiple times and have people taste it and have them tell you what they think about it, because that's product development. So just like if you were at home cooking, you get an idea of what you're going to cook and you cook it. But now you have to take it from that to a business. So a business has a product. So once you plant the seed and you come up with the idea, then you watch it grow. Then you develop your product. You take the time to look through your ingredients. How can you make it better? How can you make the texture better? What can you do? And that's really the beginning of developing a menu. It's coming up with an idea and then working on it. Then you have the research and development phase. So research and development in a food business, it ranges from business to business. But at the end of the day, the idea is that you are finding out what kind of world your product lives in. You know, is it a product that you sell to a store? Is it a snack? Is it a candy bar? Is it a juice? Or is it a restaurant? Is it a bed and breakfast? Is it a food truck? Whatever it is, you have to get immersed in that world. So research and development is very important. If you're going to develop a snack company, research what other companies are like my company. Are there other snacks like what I offer in the market already? How much do they charge for it? How do they do their production? Where do they buy everything from? So really study your competition. If you're doing cold pressed juices, it's the same philosophy. Who else sells cold pressed juices? How much are they selling them for? What's their shelf life? What's their sugar content? How do people order from them? Where are they selling cold pressed juice? How do they bottle them? All that stuff. So once you come up with a thought, either of a product or a restaurant, if your idea is to do a restaurant and you want it to be an innovative concept, what is that concept? What other restaurants exist like that restaurant? How do they sell? Do they sell enough? Do they need other distribution points? What's special about them? Because anytime you're going to go into a new industry, a new world, or meet a new group of people, you really want to ask yourself, what are those influencing factors that affect the business itself? And the only way you can really do that is by identifying who your competition really is. So the research part is very important. What foods are trending? So if you're someone like me who does a lot of different food businesses, I work with all kinds of food businesses, the thought processes that I always have are, what foods are trending? Because if you want me to develop a product for you, I'm going to probably pick something that is popular or that is becoming popular, or that I believe is something that is not just a trend, but it's something that has the longevity to stay popular. But food is very much about popularity and fads, just like fashion, very similar to the fashion industry in the sense that things come and go and get recycled. So you just want to make sure that whatever you choose is going to have the market that it needs to be able to get to sustain it. Who will your customers be? So I have done a few webinars about doing market analysis. So that's why I say schedule your technical assistance time, because in the technical assistance time, we find out who are your customers by doing a market study. Do you have enough customers there in wherever you are? How are you going to access them? Where are they? So who will your customers be is a very important question. Basically, you're thinking, what demographic or what group of people are going to buy my whatever I'm selling? And who is your competition? Which kind of goes along with like what foods are trending also. I mean, who is your competition? No matter what in the food industry, you have competition. It doesn't matter if it's not the same exact product. The customer has a lot of choices in basically every category of food product that there is. You're going to be one more of those. So you need to understand who your competition is so that you can differentiate yourself. So those are the main things I think when I think about researching. Now I think about development. So development is very different than research. Research is where you go, you find out as much as you can about something because that's your new world. You're going into this whole adventure of learning about that whole world, which is a very, very different process for every different type of food business. Every type of food business is a whole nother world. So if you are in the snack world, then you're going to go in there. As far as development goes, you're developing your product. So in research and development for your product, you've already done the research, you know why it's popular, you know where you're going to buy your ingredients from, you know where you're going to market or how people are marketing a similar product than yours. Then you go into development. And development is about your product. So when you're looking at your product, what's your shelf life? Is it something that's going to last a couple of weeks at least so that you can have inventory that you can sell and then make and then sell? That's usually better to have something with a higher shelf life. If you have something with a short shelf life, do you have the traffic and the ability to sell it quickly? Because it has a short shelf life. So you want to make sure that you're not putting money into inventory that you're going to lose. Can it be more delicious without increasing my costs? Everything can always be more delicious. That is a fact. Everything, like you can always make something more delicious. Very rarely is there something that can't be made more delicious. And that's usually, you know, there's only certain things that you feel like, okay, that's too much, or things they put too much of this in there or something like sauce or another ingredient. But what I mean by everything can be more delicious just means you can always change a recipe. There's like endless ways in which you can change a recipe. So you can't be a perfectionist in this business. You have to have really high standards. You have to have consistency and quality, but you should not try to be a perfectionist because there's not such a thing as perfection in the food industry. Somebody might enjoy something that's more acidic. Somebody might enjoy something that's saltier. Somebody might enjoy something that's less sweet. So it really is about staying true to what your recipe is and stay true to that, because whoever enjoys it will want it the same time over and over again. So when I ask you, can it be more delicious without increasing my costs? Meaning, can you have a different flavor variation that's going to keep your shopping list the same way? It's not going to increase your costs. So what can you do to add variety, or what can you do to make it better without you spending more money? And that sometimes happens in the method in which you cook something, or the way in which you prepare something. That affects flavor, and that's not a money thing. That's more of do you caramelize something? Do you cook it slowly and let the sugars develop? Or do you raise it, very high so that it gets dark artificially and it doesn't have time for that flavor development? I'm thinking about onions right now, because onions are one of those things. It's a super cheap ingredient, but in onions, you can either blister them at a very high heat, or you can take your time and caramelize caramelizing onions. So caramelize, you can caramelize them, and that takes a few hours, but you spend the same amount of money on the ingredient, but you're taking more time, which then makes it better. So depending on what you're cooking. So how do you make it more delicious without increasing your costs, without adding something? And then will you be able to scale the recipe? So once you develop the recipe and you know what you're going to make, will you be able to delegate this? Is this something that you can train people to do? Is this something that you can teach somebody how to make it? Because if you can, then that's a good thing. That's a good menu item. If you can't put it on the menu because you're the business owner. And the business owner should not be doing their own food production. So it kind of reminds me of people that have secret sauces. There's a lot of small businesses that the owner has a secret sauce, and it's a secret sauce, so nobody's allowed to make it but the business owner. But then the problem is, what if that person gets sick or something? Or what if they're not there? Then you don't have your secret thing. You don't have someone to make it. So it just makes everything very frustrating in your business when you have such a secret recipe like that, to where you should always delegate everything, including secret recipes. So I only say that because I had that question before, and I thought that was interesting because you're right. Like I've seen people have secret recipes, but it's not conducive for scaling. So all of my advice is really geared for you to be able to have a healthy business. So any advice I'm going to give is very much business advice. And this is the one that I would say is one of the ones that come up a lot, is about the secret recipe thing. So as chefs, we don't have secret recipes. As chefs, we share our recipe with everybody. And if they incorporate it into their other menu at their new place, then it's, it's actually flattering. But if you really are adamant about your secret recipe, then you can always have them sign an NDA, but I don't recommend it. I think that in the food industry, it's important to be open and share and grow. And in opening and sharing and growing, the title of this webinar is Research and Development for an Innovative Menu. So I just told you about research and development. I just told you about developing a recipe. So we talked about developing a recipe, we talked about research, we talked about development. Now we talk about innovative. So what does innovative mean to you? And I want you to write that down and think about it. Just put maybe like a little blurb or maybe even a couple of words that describe what does innovative mean to you? And for me, innovative means a lot of different things. I love all kinds of food service. That's why I do what I do. I do what I do and work with a lot of food businesses because I love all the food businesses. So can't imagine a life where I only work on one food business. I really can't. It's not something I think I could go back and do. I love being able to learn about new businesses, other businesses, and innovation to me means different things for different products, like innovation in what? If it's fine dining, is it innovation in plating? If it's, is it an experience? Is it incorporating scents and smells into the dining experience? And yeah, innovation means, Veronica, thank you for that. It means creating something different. But then the question is, what is that different to you for your food business? So for your food business, what is going to make it different? So I'm going to share a few places that I like to talk about when it comes to innovation. I put this picture of the brain a little bit because as creatives, we know that we think a certain way, and we have a certain part of our brain that is our personality kind of goes more toward the creative side. Different people are wired differently. We all have a different way of thinking. But I know for me, I'm a very creative person. Everything that I do and enjoy doing is creative. The only thing that's not that creative that I do that I still think is very creative is the business. I love learning about business, but I think I love learning about business because in my eyes, it's very limitless. The opportunities that you can create by creating a business. So when you're thinking about innovation, you still have to think about it within certain confines or within certain rules. There are rules for creativity. You can't just let your brain loose and come up. Well, you can do that. You can come up with different wild ideas. But if you want them to make you money, you have to structure it. So when you're being creative, when you're adding this new service, also make sure that you are incorporating it into your business in a way that your business is making money. Your business is still profiting, because if you don't do that, then your business will end. And I have an example of a chef who I think is wonderful. She's probably my favorite chef, who opened a restaurant that then became an institute in Catalonia. And I really like this restaurant because of the way he looks at food. The way he looks at food, a lot of people think it's very scientific, but I actually think it's pretty practical. I think that he looks at food in a way that's very practical. And really, when he's talking about being innovative, he's also talking about look around you at what resources you have around you and how can you create something new. And that new thing doesn't necessarily mean what's trending, because what's trending is because someone already came up with it and it was new, and then people got used to it and things like that. And that type of thing happens a lot in the culinary world. With him, we're talking more about like foams and caviars and different things that chefs were incorporating into their dishes to make them new. But I am going to go ahead and share the video just for a second, because I think it's interesting. And I'm going to talk about a few points after we watch the video, because and we're only going to watch the beginning of it. It's not going to go for very long.
Barcelona, Spain, the Mecca of modern cooking. In the city centre, in the La Boqueria market, a man can sometimes be found who has been voted best chef in the world no less than 5 times. Ferran Adrià, undeniably the man who has had the greatest influence on modern cuisine to this day. A huge variety of natural foods were used by this cooking genius for his culinary flights of fancy, until he decided to take a creative break and closed the legendary El Bulli on the Costa Brava a year ago.
Ferran Adrià has reinvented cooking and thus created a stir beyond the world of gastronomy. A New York Times Magazine headline from 2003, the Nueva Nouvelle Cuisine, and Time Magazine put him on their list of their 100 most influential people in the same year. In Barcelona, there is currently an exhibition about this Catalan's incredible career.
The name El Bulli refers to a dog that belonged to a German couple who originally ran a bar and a mini-golf course on his property. It later became the Hacienda El Bulli, where stew was served from time to time. Subsequently, the restaurant specialized in Spanish and Catalan cuisine. Ferran Adrià came to El Bulli in 1984 and took it over with a partner in 1996. He quickly became head chef and delighted guests for many years with his fine Mediterranean cuisine.
Hasta el año 93, El Bulli era un restaurante.
By 1993, the El Bulli had become a restaurant where you could dine very well.
Para ganar un poco de dinero.
We were making money and were able to work in a fairly creative way.
A partir del 94 no. Es una filosofía de vida.
From 1994 onwards, everything was different. From then on, it was about a philosophy of life. We wanted to create an experience for our guests. We thought that a place like El Bulli was a good place to think about happiness, creativity, and life in general.
Sobre la creatividad y sobre la vida en general. La gente cuando venían en El Bulli.
When people came to El Bulli, they stayed for 5-6 hours and came up with many thoughts during their meals.
Hacía muchas reflexiones.
For Ferran Adrià, cooking is a language with which one can address all the emotions. He also believes that the only really creative and avant-garde chefs are the ones who invent new things.
All right. So that video is it's a longer video. That's all I wanted to share with you today in that video, but it's also in the presentation. So if you were curious to finish off the video, it's definitely worth it, and you can check it out on your own time. But the video is extremely important, and a big reason it's so important is because this is one of the most highly regarded chefs in history. Just in history. He is one of the most highly regarded chefs. And he is talking about something that is, I don't want to call it a complicated concept because it's food. So I don't really believe food can ever be so complicated. At the end of the day, you're making sure that somebody's enjoying themselves with your food. So if your product is innovative because it's healthy and delicious, that's awesome. Now make sure that it's really delicious, and once you have that, then you can market it, you can brand it, and then you have something that's innovative because it's healthy and delicious, and that is innovative. Even me as a chef, everything that I cook, my form of innovation is healthy. I make sure that when I'm eating, I'm having, utilizing because I eat meat. So if I'm doing it, I'm utilizing all the parts of whatever I purchased. I drink broths. I make sure that things are very low carb because I can't eat carbs myself. I gain weight so quickly with carbs. It's really insane. And unfortunate because I love potatoes and pasta, but I have to create dishes that are geared toward our world today. And our world today is that unfortunately we do have a lot of people with health issues and things like that. And we should be creating food that will not only be delicious, but it will also be healthy. And that's just supposed to be a given, in my opinion, just in general, if you're producing food. But I know that historically, food has not been healthy. So I do love the innovation when you think healthy and delicious. Now, when you think delicious, you're like, okay, this has to get to the best form of delicious that I can make it get to. And that's why you do a lot of recipe development until you hit the right thing that you're happy with. But most people who have come to these webinars have an idea of what they've produced or what they make, and they have an idea of what makes it delicious. So that's good because a lot of you already have concepts put together. But for restaurant concepts, what I just played for you with Ferran Adrià is an important thing that he said. He said, at the end of the day, people are coming here to escape for a moment. You know, he says that they escape for 6 hours and just come up with a bunch of thoughts just because the food that they're eating is making them question a lot of things. It's making them think about stuff. He would make things that typically you would have sweet, salty, and like play around with flavors because we don't always have to do the same thing with food. We can be innovative with our preparation of different flavors. So what Ferran Adrià brought to the food industry was just that awareness that we are in the modern world, we have all kinds of modern tools and different things. So we can take the same foods and make them different dishes. So before you even go into the innovating food or the innovative dishes, you have to have mastered the flavor development and I guess the diversity of traditional food, because without knowing why a dish is a certain way, you might not be able to get the most out of the development of the new thing. So when you're thinking about a snack, why do people eat that snack? How will you make it convenient for them to grab it, to eat it? Where are they going to store it? What's your packaging going to look like to make it simple for them to put it in wherever or store it? For a restaurant, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to create an immersive experience, but I need it to be comfortable for the guests. I need it to be affordable, and I need the food to be really delicious. What am I going to do to make my execution make the customer happy? And then at the end of the day is how we get customers is by making them happy repeatedly. So innovation is a very interesting subject because it really varies from all of the different, all the different types of food business. You have a different way of being innovative. So I hope that you enjoyed that video, and hopefully you're able to take a look at it and see the whole thing at some point, because it's worth it. I love watching YouTube videos of stuff. I was actually just talking to someone about that today, how YouTube is incredible, the amount of information you can get online these days. And these are the type of videos that are really great, that you can really learn from some reputable, solid people, and it's on YouTube. There are a few different concepts I wanted to point out though with innovative menus. I don't know if you have been in the immersive dining experience in the dark. So there's a new, I guess it's a dining experience that it's all around DC now, or it's taking place in DC, where you're eating food in the dark. So there you're having a dining experience where you take your eyes away from the experience and you don't see anything. And that way, supposedly, it enhances the flavor and the experience. And that's kind of true-ish, like if I ate in the dark, I would, be a little clunky because I'm actually pretty not the most graceful of people, so I'll probably drop things. But I'm just saying that that's a very innovative concept that they've created for a restaurant setting. It's very simple. It was just blindfolding people and making the food texture. I'm assuming, I haven't been, I'm assuming that they make the food texturally pleasing so that you're hitting other senses along, since now you don't have sight. But I thought that that was a fun concept that someone played around with, and that is one thing to do. That's one thing I saw that was innovative. Then you have Heston Blumenthal, this other chef who is a chef in the UK, in England somewhere. I think he's in London. And Heston Blumenthal has a restaurant where there are concepts where they change the dining room and make it an immersive experience and actually use scents and sprays and different things to enhance more senses as you eat the food. So in one innovative place, they took away sight, they took away a sense. And in the other eating experience, they're making you smell things and listen to things and see things while you're eating. So they added to your senses. So it's two very different forms of creativity, and they're actually complete opposites, but they both work. And the reason they work is because they're well executed concepts. Because the food is good, the beverage is good, the customer service is good. So now with that other stuff, it makes them more unique. So when you're thinking about your innovation, also remember that the most important thing at the end of the day is that your food and service are great. It doesn't matter your innovative part, because there are so many innovative concepts that you're going to be just, I don't want to, that makes it sound really bad, but it's a good thing though, that we have such creative chefs in the world. But a lot of people are creative. So you're adding to that creativity mix. So at that point, your focus really has to be on execution and quality once you come up with the innovative part of it. So that's what I have to say about innovation. So my question would be, what is innovation to you? So now that we know it's healthy, healthy snacks, or looking at creating something different, something nutritious and delicious, then that's what's creative to you. Creative to me, or innovation to me, is typically trying something in a different way than I would have tried it before, or even taking away my sense of sight while I'm eating. So there are different types of innovation. But once you decide what you're making, once you decide everything that you're going to prepare for your restaurant, you have to have a menu mix. So a lot of you have seen this before, so I'm not going to go super in depth about it, because really what I want to do, well, we only have 30 minutes, but I'm going to talk about menu mix. And then I'm just going to talk about the Eventbrite and what activities are coming next and what our plan is for the rest of this cohort. So as far as the menu mix goes, your menu mix is very important, because you'll be able to see and make sure or analyze your menu to make sure that you're making a profit on your items, or that your menu is going to make you enough profit to keep your operation open. So it is a pretty simple chart, but it's something that once you apply it every time you add a menu item and you analyze your menu items, you'll get a rhythm to finding out or figuring out what works in your menu and what do you have to replace or what do you have to take out. Sometimes it's even just about taking it out and not even replacing it, because you start noticing the customer behaviors. So once you have your menu, you're not going to know what your menu mix is until your menu's out there and people are buying and purchasing and you're getting the sales. Then you're able to find the other pieces of information that you need in order to determine what does your menu mix look like. So once you have an innovative menu and you have an innovative product and you have done the research, you've done the development, you've done the trial and error to perfect your product. Next, you analyze your menu. So then you say, okay, my product list is 5 items. Let's say you have a snack company and you have 5 options. Or maybe a restaurant, like a sandwich. I had the sandwiches, I had 21 sandwiches. Then you pick each sandwich or each thing on the menu and take a look at the sales. You already should know your food costs because you knew your food costs before you sold it. So you already know what your profit margin is. And some items are going to be a higher profit margin. And some items are not. And the reason they're not going to be a high profit margin is because when you make it, you realize that it's expensive to make. Like, let's say our pastrami sandwich. If our pastrami sandwich costs $10 to make it because I bought the best bread, because we smoked the best meats, we got expensive brisket, we got expensive everything, and everything was expensive. So the sandwich itself costs about $10 to make. So I had to sell it at 14. Would I have sold it at 20 if I could? Yes. I would have loved to have sold a pastrami sandwich at $25 on Georgia Avenue. But nobody on Georgia Avenue is going to buy a pastrami sandwich, no matter how good it is, for $25. So if it's bringing people in, then that's awesome because it means it's very popular. But if I'm not making that much money on it because I didn't put it at the menu at the price I wanted to put it at, instead I put it at 14 so I can cover my costs and make some profit, that is a plow horse. That is one of those that I have that is very popular. Everybody loves it. It's the best pastrami sandwich in town. It's not making me that much money. So I don't want to take it off the menu because it's bringing people to my business. But I also need to figure out what I'm going to do to make it more profitable. And typically what I do to make it more profitable is negotiating with my purveyors, finding out how I can find a brisket at a better price, finding out how I can get Dijon mustard at a better price, finding out how I can get the bread at a better price. And if I can't, because it's going to ruin the quality of my product, I'm not going to make that change. It's going to stay a plow horse until I can figure out how to keep the quality the same and the price down. But once I get the price down, if I'm able to negotiate it, then it's going to become a star. Because a star is something that's very popular and you make a lot of money on it. You make a profit and it's popular. That's usually, for example, like my pulled pork sandwich. It had a high profit margin because it's pork shoulder, So pulled pork was usually inexpensive. I could make a good amount of pork shoulder. And it was so popular. That thing sold so much. I mean, people loved the pulled pork sandwich, and that was the star. Then you have a dog. A dog is something that is not very popular, and it does not make you so much money. And typically that's going to be like what for me was like my pickled vegetables and things. And the reason that I sold them was because I had leftover trimmings from certain vegetables. So instead of throwing all of that away or putting it all in compost, I would make a product out of it that I would preserve or pickle that people could just buy if they wanted some. You know, they were preserved, so they would last for a long time. But sometimes we do that in the restaurant industry where we have something on the menu that is not quite as popular and it's not the most not super profitable because you're trying to sell it just for cheap. You could that way just kind of make your money back on it and you're good to go. So dogs they have a reason to be in a menu, but they're not the best item. Whatever you can bring to something that is bringing you more of a profit is always a better idea. And then you have a puzzle. A puzzle is something that makes you a lot of money, but it's not very popular. So the fact that it's not very popular is what is the puzzle, because you're like, wow, this is delicious. It's making me all this money, or it's making me all this profit, but people just aren't buying it the way I want them to. Like, if only they bought more of this and not the pastrami sandwich, because this one makes more of a profit. So in your menu mix, usually it will have something that is a higher profit margin item for you, but it's not as popular. So you have to be very careful in your inventory with that item, because your inventory is going to be affected if you purchase too much of that item and you just don't have the demand for it. So the puzzle, what you really do when something is a puzzle is that you do the marketing. And once you highlight this item in your marketing, in your branding, and tell the story behind it, hopefully it can become popular and you can get it into your star category. So most items that you pick, you're going to try to get into your star category. You're going to try to get into a place where you're selling a lot of it and you're making a great profit. And that's the goal. It's not always so perfect the way it works out in real life. In real life, you're going to have a mix of things. And the reason is because life has situations in which there are things that you just can't control. And in this case, you can't control other people. So if you can't control other people and you can't control what they're going to order and what they're going to want, the best thing you can do is offer them options and guide them. Teach your team. Teach your team. That's a very important point. Whenever you're dealing with the menu mix, share it with your employees, because then you can have your sales team push a certain item. So that's why a lot of times chefs will say, you got to move the lamb chops. The lamb chops are just sitting here. We have to get them out. We have to sell them. And so when we do these types of like what we call pre-shifts, where we go and we talk to the wait staff, it's because we're trying to make sure that they know that we want everything to be a star. So if there is something that I'm making that is, I know it's delicious and you're not selling it, you have to make the active effort to train people to sell it. So that really is a part of the chef's job. So if you need help finding out what your menu mix is, and you want to actually apply this to your business, try it out, go through every item on your menu, and think about how it fits into this chart. And if you need help understanding that, then that's when you schedule technical assistance time. But it should be relatively something that you have that information already. And once you do, what are you going to do to fix your mix, basically? What are you going to do to fix the menu mix to make sure that you're profiting the way you want to from all of your items? And that's primarily the best thing you can do for your business. Because when you're analyzing your menu, you're analyzing your product list. Your food is your product. So because of that, these exercises are incredibly important. So what do you think your star is? So I want you to ask yourself in your menu, what do you think is your star of all of the different products that you make? So once you determine what your star is, that's most likely going to be the item that you can scale on. If you have an item that's very popular, that is a complete star, that people in the local community know what that is, like what the item is, and they know what they recognize it, they recognize the brand, and they really like the product, that you can go to a co-packer and you can ask them to scale your product. That's how you decide if you go into that next phase, which is the distribution phase. So you test it out first as you're working on your businesses right now. You're testing your recipes. You're trying to see who likes your products, what they like the most. Once you have a star, once you have something, then ask for technical assistance on how you can scale it. Because every food business needs distribution. It doesn't matter what food business you have. The name of the game is making sure that you put eggs in many baskets, meaning you offer all kinds of different foods and services, because you never know where you're going to get the most revenue from when. In the food business here in DC, sometimes it's events and catering, sometimes it's products. Through COVID, there were plenty of people who weren't going out to restaurants anymore. So people lost the demand there. But if the restaurants had online ordering, if the restaurants had meal delivery, then they stayed open. But the ones that failed were the ones who weren't able to diversify their offerings, the ones who were not able to tap into the market that was existent at the time. So as food business owners, we have to be resilient, and we have to see the world as what it is, or for what it is. So as we move forward in different economic times and different situations that are typically challenges for business owners, we need to be looking at it in a glass half full mentality, in a positive mentality, to think, okay, yeah, this part of the business is not doing well right now, but this part of the business can grow. Let's put energy there. Let's put more marketing there. Let's put more money there, because that's what's going to help it grow. So just the way that you would manage that thought process, I guess, in personal life. I think a lot of people manage that thought process in personal life in a lot of ways, but in your business, you really have to be able to see what you can do to make it work. Because we did have a lot of cases over the pandemic where there were people who were not able to adjust. So I like to talk about that, because that's actually the only type of advice that will hopefully really make a lasting impact, is real advice. And the food industry has gone through so many different phases and challenges and opportunities and all kinds of things in the past 4 years that we could have never imagined. And the main shift that has occurred is definitely selling online. Online sales have increased tremendously. But whenever online sales increase, so does competition, so does marketing and branding. because your competition is marketing their business and they are developing their brand as well. So as competition grows, always keep in mind, what is my star? What is that item on my menu that's that item that I might be able to create a whole nother revenue stream with? Sometimes it's salsas, sometimes it's sauces. Some restaurants have a really good barbecue sauce. So then the restaurant creates a barbecue sauce line in addition to their restaurant. Some restaurants are popular for or some breweries mostly are popular for their merch, for their hats, for their t-shirts, for their sweaters, and people want to buy their merchandise. So they create a whole t-shirt line for their merchandise. So you don't really know what your star is going to be. But once your business is operating and it's going and you get a rhythm, you start noticing what people want. So hopefully, not everyone does this, but I'm always really receptive. I always want to know what people want so that I can offer it. If I can, I will, because I want their business. But if I can't do it, then I have a reason usually as to why I can't do something. But having that open communication with your customers as the business owner to say, hey, how was your experience? Did you enjoy it? Would you like to see anything different? That feedback is very important. So I do encourage always, if you have a snack, send a little note. Hey, thank you so much for purchasing this snack. I'm a small business and I'm looking to grow. Can you please tell me what you thought of my product or of my snack? Did you enjoy it? And you want to put maybe like a multiple choice thing, which is like A, B, or C. Did you enjoy it? What did you, just whatever questions you have that will help you grow your business. So typically for me, was it delicious to you? Did you feel like you got value for your product, for your money? And just, it depends on what I'm selling, what questions I ask. But sending that little letter to say, hey, thank you so much for buying my product. I just had a few questions. If you wouldn't mind answering them, I will send you a gift certificate to Target. I don't know. You can do whatever, but if you provide an incentive, it even is better because that will motivate them to actually take action on it. And I don't always do that because that can actually get very expensive for your business. So you know when you have to offer something extra and when you don't. And so as much as you can gather customer testimonials for your products, all of that is useful for your business plan. So you really, really, every time someone tastes it, if you can gather a testimonial, it'll help you not only determine what your star is going to be, but also what you need. And so you can incorporate into your business plan. And once you write your business plan, then we keep rolling, then you keep growing, then you're able to get some grant funding or some loans or really, I don't like loans myself, but they do have the low interest loans from the SBA. But you can qualify for grants and things if you have an expansion idea. So Dreaming Out Loud, the goal of Dreaming Out Loud program, the program is to provide that support for entrepreneurs. So you're here today to receive that support. So hopefully I didn't give you too much information in the sense that I didn't overwhelm you. I definitely tried to keep it a little bit more as a conversation, to talk to you genuinely from experience and whatever I've learned along the way. That's what you're getting. You're getting real advice from real world situations and things that we have, not just me, industry experts have discovered along the way. I'm just a student of the industry. So I'm constantly finding out what's the newest different thing that's happening in the industry. So however way we can guide you, however we can help you, it's your job as the entrepreneur to identify where your weakness lies. So just like you analyze your menu and you look at, what's a star, what do you need more help with, what is doing okay, but could do better. That's the same way we look at food. And that's the same way you need to look at yourself on your daily life, just because you're an entrepreneur. And there's no one managing you but you. You're the one motivating yourself to do what you want to happen in your business. So if you need help with anything, just ask and schedule technical assistance time, because we will be able to help you. Now I'm going to take the last few minutes to show you the Eventbrite for the following classes. And so for this cohort, I definitely want to ask you that if you could share with your friends, tell them about this webinar, tell them that we're doing it, because I wish we had had a lot more time to spread the word, but I've been spreading the word on social media, so I'm happy that people have seen it. But hopefully we get, this is supposed to be, and what I'm hoping for is that it becomes a very consistent group of people. Today we were talking about research and development for an innovative menu. So hopefully you learned a lot about how to keep your menu innovative, or at least how to stay innovative yourself, so that your menu by default is always innovative. But if you need help with that, just ask me and I will help you in case you need to go more in depth about your particular menu. Next, we're going to talk about hiring and training resources for food businesses. I did this webinar before. So if you went to the Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce webinar, or the DCSBDC webinar where I talked about hiring and training, it's going to be very similar. So I did this before, but it's very useful information that everyone always needs. People are always asking me about this stuff. So that one's going to be moved. It moved to October 5th. And then this one also was moved to October 11th. So just because I'm going to be out of town those other days, but I will be back and ready to go by the 11th. So these are the schedules. We have the Eventbrite link in the chat today. So just take a look at this. Make sure that you are registered for the class if you would like the recordings. And then make sure that you schedule technical assistance time. So if you really need help with your business, right now it's nice. I did catch up with basically all the emails that I had. So thank you all for your patience. I did catch up, and so you should have all heard from me. And then the other thing about me catching up is if I leave it up to you to schedule these technical assistance times. So if you want it, you have to email me. I can't email everyone in the program's reminders because it's just too many people. So if you need a technical assistance session, request it, right? Make sure that you email Carolina at foodbizmentor.com, and then I can schedule something for you. The classes are about, or the technical assistance sessions are about 2 weeks out, meaning like if you schedule a meeting with me today, I can put it in my schedule for 2 weeks from now. So that's how it's happening. Hopefully during the holidays, it'll die down a bit so I can be there available faster. But technical assistance time is about at that lag right now with me and all the other counselors. And then remember, you can get marketing and branding help. You can get help with strategizing your business growth, all through all of these organizations. So Dreaming Out Loud, this program offers one-on-one technical assistance. And then I also work with other organizations such as the DCSBDC to help you be connected to a technical assistance specialist. And then also Nourish DC. Nourish DC also has counselors that will help you apply for the grant. So if you would like to apply for additional funding for your business and you've been open for over 12 months and you have more than $10,000 in sales, then reach out, because this is a big opportunity. There's $500,000 going into the economy, and you can apply for $10,000 to $50,000 of it for your business. That is impactful. I can imagine. I wish that, yeah, I always put myself in the shoes of myself when I was a deli owner. And I always think, wow, if I would have had $20,000, that would have been a very big savings and difference for my business back in the day. And you can also use it for getting your computers up to date, getting your technology up to date so that you can keep up with making sure that you're putting social media posts and doing all these things that you need to be doing. So I hope you all take advantage of that. But that being said, it is 4:21. This class was scheduled for 4:30. But because we don't have that many questions in the room, then I just kind of finished it a little bit early. I'm going to stop the recording, but if you need any help at all, just schedule time with me. You know how to reach me now, so you have my email, and then we will continue. So I hope to see you next time, which I believe is going to be on, next week, just like I just shared the Eventbrite schedule with you. So take a look at it, sign up. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great weekend, and thank you for being here on a Friday. Bye-bye.